Hi, there are lots of different ways that you can master the times tables. There are games, there's skip counting, there are ways of laying things out on a piece of paper. There are lots of different methods that kids use in school. Unfortunately, if you are an adult and you have a very short time to become a master at the times tables all over again, probably the best way is to spend a few hours simply memorizing them. The biggest problem with memorizing times tables is most of us grew up finding it difficult, and if we're adults and we've forgotten them, it seems like we're waiting for a disaster to happen. There's something in our brain that tells us it's very difficult and we can't do it. Frankly, this is not true. However, it is going to take a little bit of time, a lot of repetition, and a lot of practice. If you can master the times table so quickly that if I said to you, what is 6 times 7? And the answer 42 came out of your mouth before you even thought about it, then you're ready to do anything in math, because you don't have to distract your brain thinking about the answers to basic multiplication questions. In the next slide, we're going to take a look at the first step that's important if you've forgotten a big chunk. Say 6 times 5 all the way up to 8 times 9. You just cannot remember. This is the method to go through. If you're okay with everything except for 1 or 2, you're ready to go right to the apps and the random practice at the very end. Anyway, follow this through and give it a try. The first thing about the times tables that makes it scary is there are so many numbers and they're all pushed together and you're supposed to know everything, and it looks like a lot. However, if you break it down step by step, it'll be easier. For some of you, you might want to start with 1 times 1, all the way up to 1 times 10, get good at that, and then go to 2 times 1, go all the way up to 2 times 10, get good at that, and then go to 3 times 1, up to 3 times 10, and get good at that. Some of you are already pretty good at most of these, but if you're like most adults, by the time you get to 6, 7, 8, and maybe 9, then you've got gaps and things that you've forgotten and numbers you get confused. 42, 48, 49, which one is it for an answer? So the best way to do this is break it down to one set of numbers at a time. Finish the 2's, become an expert, then go to the 3's, become an expert, then go to 4's. And then you're going to get all the way up to 10 times 10, and it's been in such small chunks it hasn't been a problem. Now, start with the number that's a problem for you. I'm going to use 8 as my example here. And you want to read it out loud, the whole thing, over and over a few times. Try to repeat it, saying it the same way. You can almost get a little tune going, and it works. So I'm going to demonstrate now with the 8 times table. And if you repeat the same kind of thing as I'm doing with the same kind of little pattern over and over again, it sticks in your memory much better. Here we go. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 10 is 80. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48, and so on and so on. If you notice, I'm taking breaks in each of the little lines at the same place. I'm saying the answer a little bit louder. I'm saying the first 8 a little bit quieter. I'm getting a sound going that I can repeat. After you've done that, you're ready to move to the next. The next stage is to cover up the answers, read, and then say the answers without looking at them. If you try to keep to the same pattern, speech pattern, it should work a lot better. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 7 is 56. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 8 is 80. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. And keep going like that. Do it a few times. By saying it out loud, it'll lodge in your brain and stick there much more effectively than if you do it without saying it out loud. If you try the methods I've explained so far and it comes back to you and everything is super easy, great, you can skip this step. If you're still getting a little bit stuck or you're finding that you pause and have to think when you get to 8 times 7, 8 times 8, then you want to try writing it down and get it into your muscle memory. Your fingers will almost remember the right answer. So copy out the questions and then go through, say it out loud, write down the answers as you get to them. Do that a few times. It's very helpful. You can also go online, find a times table with the blank in the answer spot and print it off and write it down that way. That works just fine too. Don't rush what we've done so far too much. Do it a few times until it's coming in nice and smooth and you're not forgetting things. And then at this point you want to mix it up. You want to get the questions asked out of order. 7 times 6 is, 9 times 2 is, 3 times 6 is, 5 times 7 is. And to do that, you'll need to go either to an app or to the website. In the handout, I recommend multiplication.com. They've got a game site. The flashcard games is probably the best. If you get bored and you want more practice, they have car racing games and all kinds of things. If you have kids, it's a great site for kids because of that. And to be honest, as an adult, I would rather play the car racing game as well. Anyway, so try to download an app or go to the website and again, practice a few times until you don't even need to think about the answer. When you don't need to think about the answer and it just pops out of your mouth or you write it down without thinking about it, at that point you can do a 60 question sheet of times table problems in less than a minute and a half. And if you're at that point, anything else you do in math will seem much easier because you don't have to waste your brain thinking about the answer to 6 times 7 when you're trying to balance an equation and do 5 steps to make it possible to get to the right answer. You don't want to have to interrupt your train of thought with times table stuff. Anyway, good luck. Give this a try.